Hi, it's Liz Snedden here. Let's have a look at using Microsoft Forms. So we want to look at being able to load up and create a title and description, being able to add different question types, being able to add a screening question and branching, then how we can preview the questionnaire that we've written, collect some responses and print out the forms and the graphs of our responses. So that's what we want to be able to do. So let me just switch across. So if we go to and just type in forms.office.com, that will load up the Office. Now all the students at St Kent's have got an account, so if you click on the sign in, you'll then be able to sign into that with your school account. So I've got, where is it? One of mine already opened. Here we go. So I happen to have a number of quizzes already done. You'll probably have a big blank area here because you won't have any yet. So we can do new quizzes, new forms, and we can do a quick import, which is if you want to import a quiz from somewhere else. So we're going to start off just by doing a new quiz. So we will open up a blank one. And you can see at the top here, you've got, it says untitled quiz, and that matches the heading up the top there of the file itself. So let's just call this test, and you'll notice that it saves that as a test. And I'm just going to delete that hint that it's given me. All right, there is a description there. So if I want to put any notes here about confidentiality, anonymity, the time that it's going to take to fill in, etc., what the purpose is and so on, I can add a little note there about that. So that gives me the heading. Now you see there's two tabs, one that says questions and one that says responses, and we'll come to that responses one in a bit. So under our questions here, what we've got is we've got a number of options. So the choice, that's our multi-choice one. So if I have a yes/no question or multiple choice, that's the one I'd used. If I want to open a text question, I'd use that. I've got rating questions, dates, and if I click on this little arrow here, there are also ranking, Likert scales, which is another way of doing ratings, and we can add in new sections and things there as well. So let's just add in our very first question as an open question. So I'm going to go to my text here and I'm just going to say open question. And if I wanted to add an image, I can do that. And what I want to go down to here is I can see that there's a little button that I can click on, and that's to decide whether it's a long answer or a short answer. So the default is that it's a short answer. And if I go to preview, you'll see there it just gives me a single lined box. So that's doing a shorter answer question. However, if I make this into a long answer, then when I do that, you can see that the box is much bigger and people can write a lot more. So it depends on how much you want people to write as to which of those you'd like. So that's my open question. Then let's try adding a yes/no question. So we're going to just say yes/no question. And in my first option here, so that's the answers, I'm going to put yes. And it automatically comes up with suggestions for you. So particularly yes/no, or 1, 2, 3, those kind of options that is common, then it will make those suggestions. So if I click on the no, and it defaults puts that in there for me. Now there is a multiple answers option down here. We don't want to use this for a yes/no question, but we will come back to that when we look at checklists. The required one here, this is if we require people to answer a specific question. So if I absolutely want people to do that question, I'll click that. And so then when it comes to the questions, you can see there it's got the little star required, and so people have to answer that question, and they won't be able to press submit unless they've answered this question. So question 1 they might not answer, but they have to answer this question. Okay, so let's add another one now. So let's do the multi-choice. So multi-choice question. And I'm going to add lots of options. So this is when I might have multiple different options. So could be what year level are you at school? Year 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And I can just type in whatever I want those options to be. And this is a multi-choice in that you're going to choose one of the answers. If I now want to do a checklist, I'm going to add a choice. And so now to do this as a checklist. Now remember, a checklist is where people can select multiple options. So that you might ask a question, what's for breakfast? And I can put the first option, toast, second option, cereal, third option, smoothie, fourth option, porridge, if I can spell it. Oh, no, there's an extra O in there. And so on. I can add lots of options. Now, this is where I'm going to select this one that says multiple answers. And what that does is it allows me, you can see how it's now changed it to these check boxes. And that's how I can now, somebody can answer multiple things. There are other options that you can do. So here it's got no limit, but you can say, well, people could only choose, they have to choose 3. Or they can choose at most 4. Or so if you wanted to limit how many they can choose, then you can do that as well. Then let's have a look at the rating question. So you'll notice the default here is it comes up with a 5-star rating type thing because that's the default. If you don't want it to be stars, there's other things that you can do. So you can choose different things there. Okay, and if you don't want it to have 5 options, if you only want it to have 3 options, you can change that. So this one is a rating question. Then let's have a look at the next type. So the date one we don't often use. I'm just going to jump now to the ranking question, which is another one that we do use. And so for a ranking question, this is when we want somebody to put them in order of first, second, third. And so here I just want 3 options, but if I wanted 5 options or any other number, I can add more to that. So if I now go up to the preview up the top here, and if I click on that, that shows me what the form now looks like. So this goes through and it shows me there's my multi-choice, so somebody can only select one of those. Here's my checklist, so I can select multiple options there. My ratings, I can choose 1 star, 2 stars, 3 stars. The options, I can pick these up and move them into whatever order suits me for my answer, and so on. Now you'll notice the default here is the computer, so it shows you what it looks like if this is on a computer, but there's also a mobile option. So this is now, it shows you what it would look like if it's on a mobile phone, and you can scroll down and see what those questions would look like on a mobile phone. Okay, so that, if I go back now, that takes me back to my form itself. Now the other type that I wanted to show you was particularly which is useful for the screening questions. So let me add a new question, and that is going to be a choice, and so this is going to be my screening question, and it might be, are you a student, yes or no? And so I'm going to have one option to be yes and the other option to be no. And what I'm going to do now is, you'll notice here I've got a little arrow, because at the moment I've just done this, entered this as the last question, but I actually want to put this as the first question. So I'm going to click the arrow here, and that's going to move the question up, and I'm going to move that till it's all the way at the top. Okay, and so now I can see it's question number 1. What I want to do now is there are some more settings that I want to do. And so we can turn things into a drop-down menu if we wanted to, or if I need to do maths questions and things, I can do that. But I want to go to this thing here that says Add Branching. So if I click on the Add Branching, that means that if somebody selects yes, then I want them to go to the next question. However, if they say no, I'm not a student, then I want them to end the form. And so then it'll be a little answer, thank you for submitting your response. And so what that looks like is if I go back, so if I preview this now, you'll notice it just shows me the first question now. So it just shows me the screening question, and if I say yes, it drops down and opens up all of those other questions as well that ask me to fill it in. However, if I say no, it doesn't show me anything more. So that's how the branching screening question works, so that we're only collecting data from our target population. So that is a lot of useful things. Now, another thing that is useful is when you can obviously change the theme. So if you decide you want to go with different color schemes or anything else, you can change to almost anything that's there or add your own. So that's something you can play with in your own time. There is also under collect responses. So when I'm ready to pilot this, I'm going to click on collect responses. And this is where I have some options. And what I can do is I can say, well, I want to send it out to anyone or only to people in my organization. So like being in a school, I just want to send it out to those people in my school. So I might type in Liz Snedden, and because it knows me, it brings it up and it's already got my email address embedded within that. And so I can type in the name of the other students I want to send that in, and it sends off this email. So I can then just click on the send button, and that will send an email to the people I've listed, asking them to fill in the form for me. So if I send that one off, that's how that works. Okay, we also need to be able to print. So if I go to the form settings, those three little dots on the top right hand side here, then there's an option to print the form. So this is when you're doing your drafts, you're going to want to print that out. So when we say print form, then I don't want to send it to the school printer. I actually want to save it as a PDF. And so, well, no, sorry, you can actually just send it to the school printer. What am I saying? You can send it to the school printer, or you could do it as a PDF. And then you just print that one off. So that's how to do the setup part of it. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to jump back to another one that I've done in the past. So this is a form that I've used previously, and you can see here under responses, it's got a bunch of students that have responded to this. So in fact, there were 64 students that filled in this form a couple of years ago. So if I go to my responses tab, then what I've got now is it gives me different answers depending on what the questions were. And in fact, let's find one which has got, what's this one got in it? No, that's not an interesting one. That one's probably got some more graphs in it. I'm just trying to find one with graphs in it. And so there we go. So now you can see it asked the students the question, what year level are you? And it's drawn me a graph of what those results are, and so on. So what I also need to be able to do is I need to be able to print out this pilot study results. So up here there are three little dots, and I can open this as a spreadsheet if I wanted to, but I actually just want to go to these three little dots and I want to print summary. And so what that then does is it prints out the results and the responses from that graph, from my survey. So I'm hoping that that has been useful for you. Let me come out of there. That's gone through everything we needed to know. So hopefully now you know a little bit more about how to use Microsoft Forms and you're ready to try it yourself. Thanks very much for watching.